When we talk about well being, what are we talking about? Are we talking about the silence that just goes along with the quietness in my head, in our minds? Or are we talking about the satisfaction it gives the paperwork you needed to pass the exam that you finally did it and actually succeeded on it? When we're talking about well being, are we talking from a theoretical, technical way or a subjective, online way? We've been making a series of definitions surrounding social media, going from social media fatigue to social media efficacy, and now we're going to online subjective well being. What is well being for you? Is the person that is showing up a perfect lifestyle on social media giving you some kind of satisfaction, putting yourself away from the awful news, at least for a brief moment of your night? Or is the person that is collecting stuff, making stationary videos, organizing in colors, and putting everything in some kind of perfectionism that you lack? We project things that give us some sort of satisfaction, sometimes because we want those things to be real in a day to day life. But somehow we cannot achieve it, or we cannot portray that into our reality. So it gave us some sort of satisfaction to see it in others. Having this behavior in mind, what is well being for you? Again, is it something subjective, or is it something that needs to be taken from a book? And is this sort of well being realistic, or just made up from an illusion or idealistic type of vision that I have about something in my life, or how I want my life to be? I often tend to recall the Barbie movie called Fairytopia, and it's this like magic out of a fantasy book type of world that I find quite interesting, that the studio and the people who came out with this movie actually wanted to invent their own animals and living beings. So this movie not only showcases a fairy world, it also portrays the illusion and the perception of invented animals from other people or professionals in the animation area from that time. Because when we see fantasy movies, they tend to portray this fantastic world with vibrant colors, sometimes a lot of sci fi, but they don't tend to mess up with these important creations, because we're also talking about Fairytopia that has to do a lot with animals, with the animal world itself. So they didn't take the existing species and put it there with different colors, with those bubble eyes that they tended to put in Barbie movies. They created new creatures out of the sun. What we tend to see more in sci-fi is how they just change the appearance of humanoids, you know, human beings to a humanoid kind of new creature. But the mold is the same. But this time they say like, no, we're going to create something different from a scratch. And yeah, some of the creatures they resemble actual living animals. But that is the moment that I see that kind of difference so marked that separates from other fantasy movies I have ever seen. And we know those type of worlds aren't true, but somehow we tend to have some kind of satisfaction watching those movies. So from a kid being in Fairytopia, might have sounded something amazing, but from an adult's perspective, that was some kind of creepy movie, perhaps. But then, what are we doing with people that like some kind of sagas nowadays that are already adults and are like big fans? From a kid's perspective, might sound great, the type of content this person is consuming, but also boring or too long than expected, right? But being immersed in someone else's inventions creates this type of interaction with a living, fantastical world, giving you a sense of hope that this world could be true in some kind of way. So when we talk about this in a social media landscape that we haven't had in the past, remember this is something pretty new, but somehow it feels already old. And if humankind have been centuries in social media somehow, this is also a proof of how fast things are going and how we need to adapt quicker and quicker and quicker to nowadays digital and online changes. That out of the sudden, a company just drops something and we need to adapt to it and we need to accept it, most importantly. For example, what happened with AI, but that's another topic for another video. So in social media, we start seeing traces of Fairytopia. Let me tell you, it is so subtle, mm, very small type of doses that you don't even notice it. It just leaks slowly throughout every video, every post, every content. And you just like things, you just comment on things, you just saved, and then you start creating folders, you start creating libraries, you start creating things that could then mark a pattern that gives the algorithm the idea of what you like or what you would like to see. Now, compare your feed to your actual life. How much of what you're seeing right there can be equally aligned to your current life? What are the similarities in color, in type of content, in tone? What are the similarities in what the person is speaking about, the subject, what they're selling to you, the type of service they're offering, what they're sharing to you, what they have. And if it isn't a person, why is showing up right there? That could be a lie. or could be something that you can see and perceive in your actually current real time reality and moment. You perhaps are going to see lots and lots of differences that no, there's no way that, for example, my room looks like that. There's no way that this is happening in my work. There's no way I have that closet. There's no way I dress like that. Or my hair is like that. There's no way I have that product with me. I've been wanting it for months, but of course I don't have it. There's no way I have that house. Like, look at that mansion. There's no way I have that car. I would love to, but I don't. There's no way I eat like that. This girl is so fitness and this is so, so expensive. We're talking about 600, $1,000 in groceries every 2 weeks. No, there's no way I have those apps. No, there's no way I have that lamp. But I would love to. I would love to have a 3D printer, and I keep following this guy. I don't even have one. So why do I keep seeing videos of this guy showing his 3D printed creations and selling his guys to replicate it on a 3D printer I don't have? And I could go on. For some people, this could be depressing. For others, this might cause anxiety and other mental disorders. But how much of what's on your feed on your main social media platform that you use is the same to your current reality? Just make that exercise. We are seeing and constantly sharing, commenting, and saving fairytopias all over social media. They created you follow, the content you like to watch, the things you like other people to review, the services people are acquiring that you would like to have, the experiences other people are having and you don't. But somehow everything is in a bundle in your feed, in your YouTube recommendations, in your TikTok's algorithm, in your threads, and others. Everything is right there. You're perfect. Fairytopias. And yes, I'm telling this in plural because what has changed from that old Barbie movie is that it was one Fairytopia we could focus. And there was like the sequel, one, two, three Fairytopias, but it was the same. Now we're facing sequels of enormous amounts of Fairytopias. We cannot even pick one. We cannot even focus on one. Also affecting our capability of attention. So imagine that we aren't only focusing in different Fairytopias, getting flabbergasted by so many at the same time. Just add the fact that we cannot even focus on one. One thing is, yes, acknowledging that what we're seeing is imaginary reality, but also that we have different of realities all at the same place. How many squares is your feed having right now? How many are videos? How many are videos mixed with pictures? How many are videos mixed with carousels? How many are comments with videos, videos without comments, captions alone, no captions, just video, and others? It's like a mix of different realities that we are somehow matching with them, but they just diverse so heavily that somehow they still put it one next to the other even though they don't match. at all sometimes. Sometimes they do, but when you scroll down, then it's a different universe, a different fairytopia that the algorithm wants us to immerse. But oh no, we cannot set videos longer than 10 minutes. And if we do in some platforms, then I'm going to also recommend you things that are quite similar but not so similar. Because that's how it works. I need you to consume and I need you to show me your attention so I can recommend you things and keep profiting for the advertisement that you're going to give me. Hell yes, we all win. So I don't care is what the platform might say, apparently. That hey, I don't care if your attention gets stuck or damaged. I just need you to keep up with me. Barbie wasn't demanding that. The studio, the people in back were doing some kind of crazy animals, cr- some kind of not so pretty looking world, but interesting and vibrant enough for kids to watch it. And now they have people showcasing more free topics that we can count in just one feed. And you know what's crazier? That also people are trying to get in the loop. So you might say like, hey, I really like this content. I really like what this person is doing. So why do I not do it? Right? So without you even knowing, if you decide to do some kind of a specific niche content creation, you're getting into the loop, you're creating a new Fairytopia without even knowing. You're also perpetuating this non-lasting nowadays, outstanding, uncontrollable Fairytopia's factory that we didn't ask for. But somehow limitations got over when it's about consuming content. I would love to have some kind of limitation, but there is none. Like some kind of limitation for the amount of ads that a platform itself is allowed to have per week or per month for a user, or the algorithm to get more specifically with the type of content that they want to give you. For the platform to, at least for the hour of scrolling, at least 80% of the videos are directly related each one to the other. If I start seeing something about dinosaurs, I end that after that hour, that will be the limit, listening and hearing about dinosaurs. Wouldn't that be amazing? Or wouldn't that be like a more palpable short term solution? It's just about changing the algorithm, and they do it all the time. So, yeah, they could do it in a short term. Why don't they do it? That is something you will also need to ask yourself. And you will also have to formulate your own answer to that. So, is this really well being? Being in front of my computer, being in front of my phone, and getting immersed in Fairytopia worlds? I would say yes, because the online subjective well being perspective is that having different types of perspective, watching content, and consuming any other stuff you want to consume in the world while being alone, while being in a collective, and um, in exterior or even interior way within yourself. We're talking about meditation, right? When we're talking about well being. And that's another thing. Every time we're talking about well being, We also tend to portray the formal and more accepted ways of pursuing well-being, like meditation, doing yoga, eating well, etc., etc. And we aren't talking about the disruptive methods of well-being or procedure like the ones I just spoke to you about. Why aren't those in the books? And some of them they have it, but not like it's much as just mentioned in the past. Because why are you talking about the non-disruptive and not the disruptive? Especially when a lot of people nowadays having the disruptive type of well-being. Why just trying to hide in the books that part of if that also perpetrates the well-being in a person, if it is something that could be subjective, isn't it? Am I right? Like meditation is subjective. Healing my inner child is subjective. Watching tons of hours of YouTube is subjective. Filming 50 TikToks in a week, for example, is subjective. And all that can be part of your well-being routine. Why only giving visibility to the accepted ones, to the formal ones, if we know that we are all getting immersed in disruptive ways of well-being? When do you think about this topic? I think it's really interesting. I like just talking about it. Um, this time I didn't write anything initially. Just to start talking about this, and I think I could go on, but I would like to pause and also having this conversation a bit open and continue, of course, this line because I want to continue, and I just want to follow up this line that I have been going with social media and different sub areas and subjects about it, which I find really, really interesting. Let me know what you think about these topics. Let me know if you've been liking it so much. I think when social media just arrived, this conversation will never end. Some kind of way, the research is made of people commenting on social media itself, making some observations about it, videos, movies, etc. So what we're going to see are more about the things that are surrounding us at the moment. Do you also feel that social media have been like longer than it has been? It's crazy that it's something that it hasn't had not even like a century. It's really, really odd how we are so used by it right now. We have without having like so much time with it. And we're still so savvy and so immersed in these digital platforms right now. Like if they were already there for some reason. Let me know if you like these open talks, let's say, about these subjects and sharing perspective. So let me know and talk to you guys another time. Bye bye.